Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Donald Eng is off today. I'm Frank Granito and I am joined by Dave Stewart in the studio. Dave, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing all right. We're in with a lot of different things going on, so it's in the heart of the season now.
We really are. About week 3 of the season now when you look at the fall, and this is the first time we've got to see you, Dave, since last Friday night when we covered New Canaan and Ridgefield in our game of the week. What were your original thoughts on that game, Dave?
Well, you know, I was impressed with how New Canaan responded, honestly, because obviously the week before against Trinity, the offense really just sputtered. They used the 3 quarterbacks, and nobody looked good on offense. I mean, O'Connell did what he does, but nothing was really in sync. And then you put Drew Pine in as the quarterback, his first start as a freshman, a big spot against Ridgefield. He was great. O'Connell was incredible. I think 251 yards receiving and rushing. They looked like the New Canaan teams we've been used to in the past.
And as good as the offense was, let's take a second because the defense, I thought personally, stole the show. Where does this defense rank right now? And it's much too early to say, but compared to some of those really great New Canaan defenses we've seen throughout the years.
You know, it's hard to tell where the defenses stands nowadays with everybody running these passing offenses and going up and down the field really quick because the defenses do get worn down. But other than that, the opening play where they had a long touchdown pass and Ridgefield got ahead. You're right. The New Canaan defense was just incredible, and this one has got to be one of the best that I've seen so far through 2 games. It's only 2 games, but right now through the first 2 games, they look like one of the best in the past, I would say, 8 to 10 years, really. And a lot of it starts with that secondary with guys like Jackson Apelt, Sean Knight, Ryan O'Connell back there, and Tommy Root. Those guys are just something, and they can shut down guys like Fowler and a lot of the good quarterbacks in the league.
And we just missed it, but we would have seen there on the highlight clips. The next play was the big hit on Drew Fowler. The word broke earlier this week. He'll be out at least 2 to 3 weeks with a sprained AC joint. How good can this Tigers team be now without Fowler these next couple of weeks?
That's really a tough loss for them because he's a third-year quarterback. That experience, you can't discount that. And he did take the hard hit and hit the ground really hard too. Greg Rigato, who came in and he looked a little shaky at first. He seemed to get a little better as the game went on. So we'll see how he steps up. He's a good lacrosse player. So he's kind of been in the fire that way, been in those big competitions. Whether he can, run this offense, we'll have to see. But losing Fowler is rough.
It is, and it was tough to see. We were happy to hear that it's only a couple weeks that he'll be out. They do expect to have him back sometime in October, so we wish the best for him. But we don't need to go over that game too much. We talked about it on Monday. But, Dave, I thought one of the cooler interviews we've had in a long time occurred during FCX Tailgate. You and Kate Shaplinsky were joined by Andrew Campbell and Charlie Cole, the New Canaan Olympic rowers. That was a fun interview, and they were a blast to have on Tailgate with us.
Yeah, they were a lot. I love the Andrew giving the ram horns up there, and what those guys have accomplished. I mean, we talk about high school sports all the time, and a lot of these guys go on to play in college, and whether it's D3, D1, a guy like Lucas Nying and at TCU, people like that. But to reach the Olympics as a rower, and actually in Charlie's case, medaled back in 2012 in London, and Andrew coming close this year, and Thomas Dunstan, who couldn't be there the other night because he's at USC playing water polo. That's the pinnacle of the sport, really, and it really puts it on a world stage. It's a big deal. It
was a great job by the town honoring those 2 before the game. Let's take a look at the interview, and we have a tribute video that was made for them as well.
Welcome you in Rio, the Olympic city. Here we stand to deliver history.
The youngest, Thomas Dunstan, 18 years of age in the USA side.
Racing for a gold medal in the lightweight men's double sculls, Josh Kneasley and Andrew Campbell, Team USA, and Charlie Cole behind him.
And Charlie Cole from that bronze medal crew from 2012.
Look at the US surging, putting on a strong finish. Team USA, terrific run.
from Dunstan. The 18-year-old gets his first goal of these Olympics. It's really livening up now for the USA.
What a story for the Americans. Team USA has never had a boat in this Olympic final. Josh Kneesley and Andrew Campbell create a special little piece of history right here.
And we're back, joined now by Charlie Cole and Andrew Campbell. They have not seen that video that all of you just saw. That's going to be playing before the game. But as you said, Charlie, you guys were there, so. Yes?
Yeah, no, we know what happened.
You kind of know what happened. But first, Charlie, let me ask you, this is your second Olympics. You were in London. Tell us what it was like the second time around, just to be there.
I think it was nice knowing a bit what to expect and kind of the Olympics there's so much energy. As a rower, it's the only time you really get the full treatment, where it's where it's kind of everything is done professionally, and there's all that energy and coverage, media coverage especially, and everyone's watching you. So knowing and kind of being prepared for that was a little different, and also it was nice to be able to soak it in a bit more.
And we should mention, Andrew, this was your first Olympics. So what was it like for you?
Yeah, I think Charlie kind of nailed it in that I went in without knowing what it was going to be like at all. And I would say that it was way bigger than I thought it would be. Just the size of the village, walking in there, I was thinking it would be half the size it really was. And just also the level of attention and support we got is unlike anything I've ever experienced in the sport of rowing before. So definitely an eye-opening experience.
Everybody sees what you guys are doing at the Olympics, and that's kind of the focal point. But what goes into it in preparing over the last 4 years?
Yeah, it's a long campaign, and even qualifying is incredibly difficult. You both have to qualify your country for the Olympics, and then you have to make the boat for your country. And so one boat from each country goes. But only the top 12 or so countries get a bid to compete, and so that process of winning a bid for your country in many cases is almost more difficult than making the U.S. Olympic team.
Wow. And Charlie, can we talk a little bit about the competition? What was that like?
It was the nice thing about the Olympics, and it's fun, I guess, as a competitor, is that you get the best out of everybody. You get everyone's best, and I think over the 4-year cycle, there's a World Championships every year, but the Olympics is kind of the Super Bowl for rowing, and so. Whereas some people might not be on form in the World Championships, in the Olympics, if you're going to medal or win, you have to be on your game. And so, we lived that this year. I think we came in with high hopes, and we fell a little bit short. But as a competitor, right? And then you can be okay with coming up short as long as you gave a good effort and you respect the effort that other people put out there and said, okay, well, hey, that was better than what we had, and so hats off to you, and that's kind of how it went down for us. So.
And now, Charlie, you graduated New Canaan High School 2003, Andrew 2010. What's it like to be back here right now and be honored today?
It's cool. It looks a little different. In some ways, it looks the exact same, but I haven't been back here. I was back here 4 years ago for a similar event, but other than that, I hadn't been back in probably 10 years. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Andrew, what about you?
It still feels pretty recent to me, being a high school student coming to these games, and so it's definitely cool to be a bit removed from that, but returning to see that the same stuff is still going on.
All right, and Charlie, do you think you'll be going back to the Olympics 4 years?
Probably not.
No?
Probably not. I'm 30. I'm turning 30 this year, so I think to do it for another 4 years might be a little much to ask. But if I certainly don't. I'll miss it if I'm not there. So I can't rule anything out, but probably not.
Andrew, you guys came close to a medal this year. Are you going to go back?
In the lead up to the Olympics, I was sort of thinking that I was overtraining. This would be my last one and done. But you hit on the head that we were so close, and seeing kind of how cool the whole event was, I'm definitely more drawn towards doing another cycle.
Got the juices. flowing, right?
Exactly, yeah. I'm taking a year off of the national team now to focus on work and kind of take a breather, but I have a feeling I'd get back into it after that.
That would be great.
That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to ask you to stick around later and make your picks for who's going to win tonight and some of the other games coming up this week in the FCIAC, if that's okay with you. All right. Well, we're going to take a break here on FCIAC Tailgate. We'll be back right after this.
And again, a very cool interview, a lot of fun to be a part of. We want to thank Charlie and Andrew again. We had them on for the pregame picks on Tailgate. They were a blast to work with. Thanks again to Ellie Wright, who made that tribute video. A great job there. But two class acts, and they were a blast to have on, Dave.
Oh, definitely. And I like their theory of picking. Andrew said he was picking the schools that were bigger, had a bigger population, because he figured they had an advantage, which is actually not that far off the mark.
Andrew was perfect on the day. The only game that he and Charlie differed on was Wilton and McMahon, so that's where Charlie fell behind. Both, though, picking the alma mater, and they were right with the New Canaan win.
Got to go with it.
Of course. Let's take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. When Dave and I get back, we'll take a look at some breaking stories around the state, as well as some coverage from yesterday's FCIAC games.
1, 2, 3, Abby! You know!
I want to find out how good I am.
Yes, sir! If you relax, you get blown out. Let's get it done! Let's get it done!
What can you take advantage of right now?
Again, come on!
I can push myself way beyond what you think.
Pressure technique. Bring it back.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
At Mex on Main, Trumbull's very own Mexican grill, we're all about fresh, fast, and friendly service. Our Main Street restaurant offers the best in traditional and non-traditional Mexican dishes, with only the best ingredients, never frozen. From authentic burritos, fajitas, quesadillas, and salads, we have something on the menu for everyone in the family. And enjoy our open salsa bar, giving you more ways to customize your meal. Stop in for lunch or dinner at 6528 Main Street, Trumbull, or find out more at mexonmain.com.
At Greenwood Physical Therapy of Bethel, individualized care, knowledgeable staff, and state-of-the-art equipment provide the best of orthopedic and sports medicine services. Our experienced therapists at Greenwood provide the highest level of knowledge and care. Greenwood accepts most kinds of insurance, and staff are there to answer your questions. Open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., the clinic serves the greater Danbury area and is a convenient drive from Reading. Appointments are available within 24 hours. Just call 203-917-4792 or visit greenwoodphysicaltherapy.com for more information.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan, and you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Frank Granito and Dave Stewart in studio today. Dave, a couple interesting stories breaking throughout the state, and let's start outside the FCIAC, where the annual rivalry game between Seymour and Derby High School has been postponed this week due to several players from Derby testing positive for hand, foot, and mouth disease. The two teams will now meet on October 20th, which would have been a bye week. Instead, they will serve their bye week this weekend now. Meanwhile, Derby officials spent the past Monday disinfecting both the high school and athletic facilities. An interesting reason now to see a game postponed.
Yeah, that's a new one. I guess they're doing the right thing, though. I mean, if they're able to come to an agreement when to move the game to, it's precautionary. It's probably the smart thing to do.
And the Seymour coaching staff agreed that this was the right decision to make. The players' safety and health was the most important concern, and they're putting that before the game. It works out too now. You've got that bye week next month, so you can sort of flip-flop that. But just it was a crazy story to read and seeing broken today. So we hope they're able to figure all of that out at Derby.
It's interesting because not a lot of people like that bye week, but it comes in handy if you need to move things around. So,
on the off chance that 5 of your kids come up with a random disease. Dave, you actually have got some interesting news now regarding the playoffs this season for the FCIAC field hockey.
Yeah, the FCIAC field hockey semifinals, which were originally scheduled for Dunning Field in New Canaan, have been moved now to Brian McMahon High School. Apparently the new turf they put in at New Canaan High School is playing a little bit slow. I've heard considerably slower. I've heard other coaches say it's just slow. They're citing the infill, which is more of like a pure rubber than the recycled tire parts that they've used in turf in the past, and the big reason they went that way is because of the health concerns. There's been a lot of talk about health concerns with recycled rubber. The FCIAC's kind of citing that as the reason it's playing slower, but I don't think that's really the reason. The thing I heard before the season was that the turf seems a little bit longer than the old turf.
And that's a good point, because when we were there Friday night, we got to walk on a little bit, and it just felt thicker, and it did have that impression of being longer. And then Saturday afternoon, we went to Greenwich High School, and Greenwich really wasn't using a rubber pellet. It was more just the sand material, and it felt lighter. You saw it seem a little bit quicker. We saw it was Shane Palmer for the Tigers, who was a very speedy slot receiver for them. He was slipped and tripped up a couple of times on that new turf. So you feel like, I think it's smart to move it this year. You give the girls an equal advantage. Let the game be played as fast as it should, but it seems like Dunning might be a year or two away from really being in peak condition now.
I think it does need to settle a little bit. Turf obviously wears down over time, and this might just need to be kind of broken in, for lack of a better term. And moving it to McMahon is the right thing to do in terms of choosing another site. They've always hosted the FCIAC championships. I know in past years they've even had quarterfinals stack them 4 games on a Saturday like they do with the basketball tournament, and that has worked out. So they're all familiar with McMahon's turf. That plays well. It's a great facility to play that game in, and they do a good job hosting over there. Joe Matafari does.
And so it'll be good to see that. And obviously, you're right, McMahon first class with all the facilities and the way they handle those championship events. So. No harm, no foul there. Taking a look at some of the local FCIAC action from yesterday, and let's start with Trumbull High playing against Fairfield Ward in a matchup of 2 undefeated boys soccer teams that played to a 3-3 draw. There were 3 goals scored in 6-minute spans in both halves, starting in the first half between the 22nd and 28th minute, where Ward's Jonathan Schuster picked up 2 goals, with Trumbull's Daniel Folchik scoring in the middle of those. 2-1 at the half, and we head to the second half, where Trumbull scored twice in less than 3 minutes, getting goals from Jason Weinstein and Thang Dow to take a 3-2 lead before Jack Ryan tied the game just 3 minutes later for Ward. Jonathan Campbell for Trumbull made 5 saves. Matt Skelton made 4 saves for the Mustangs. Both teams are now yet to lose a game, Dave. Trumbull 3-0-2, Ward 3-0-1. These are 2 very good soccer teams playing at a high level early on right now.
And they're scoring a lot of goals in that. How often do you see a 3-3 soccer game in there? And they're both playing well. They're both actually, if you look at the latest polls, they're both Ward is ranked in the top 10 and Trumbull's just outside it. So FCIAC's schedule is brutal.
It really is, and we were breaking it down yesterday. The West Division right now is so tough. Just 5 or 6 teams that are going to be fighting to make it into the FCIAC playoffs. All will qualify for the states and be contenders there. You were talking about that poll. Let's spend a little more time on the FCIAC soccer poll now. What do you have for us there?
Yeah, well, right now the top team from the FCIAC is Danbury. Right now they're 5-0-0. They were number 3 last week. They jumped up to number 2 ahead of Hall. They're behind number 1 Glastonbury. Now, Danbury's an interesting team because they've outscored their opponents 17-5. beating West Hill, beating Staples. Both of those are always good, strong programs. And, last year they were 11-2-3, and they were number 1 in the FCAC. Didn't win it, obviously, but, they could be eyeing that top seed once again. They're one of 2 5-0 teams, Greenwich being the other, and Greenwich is ranked number 4, which they're in the same spot as last week. Greenwich has had had one nice win early in the year. They shut out Darien 2-0. Darien, of course, last year's runner-up, had just a great season, and Darien's kind of found their way. They were 0-2 to start, lost to Trumbull and Greenwich. Again, 2 really good teams, but they've won their last 3 by shutout.
And Greenwich picking up the win yesterday, 2-1 against Wilton. Stanford beat Norwalk by a score of 3-1. You had McMahon on top of West Hill, 3-1 as well. And then Darien beating New Canaan 1-0. We were talking about the Rams off the air earlier. Just the defense is there, struggling to score right now.
Yeah, they have a good goalie in Sam Stoner. They actually have a second good goalie with Richardson there. Their defense is playing well, but they don't possess the ball, for long periods of time, so they don't get a lot of chances. They just kind of try to pack everything in, shut another team down, and then if they get an opportunity, go and try to punch one in. So far, that hasn't worked out too well for them. They're 0-4-1. They've scored 2 goals in 5 games. They do have a few guys out who can score, so hopefully they're able to get those guys back sooner rather than later. But it's been a tough road for them, because yesterday was the same old story. They shut out Darien in the first half, played very, very well. Sam Stoner, the goalie, was playing just great. He has a tendency to do well against Darien, but Darien finally stuck one in on a corner kick, a nice kick in by Sean Gallagher. Jack Flynn was on the far side, got it, put it into the open side, and that was all that Darien really needed.
Taking a look at field hockey now, Norwalk with a big win from Dunning Field, and they knocked off the Rams by a score of 5-3. Ludlow controlled the field against Danbury, winning 7-0, and Trumbull over Stanford by a score of 4-0. And in girls cross country from Waveney Park yesterday, Morgan McCormick won for the 3rd time in as many races as the Wilton High School girls cross country team swept 4 FCAC opponents. The Warriors, now 7-0, pulled out tight wins over Staples 30-26 and New Canaan 30-25, along with wins over Stanford 40-21 and Trinity Catholic 50-15. McCormick was the overall winner in the 4,000 meter race with a time of 15:33, beating the second place finisher Susie Martin of Staples by more than 30 seconds. The Wilton boys achieved a split, defeating Stanford 38-20 and Trinity 50-15, but falling to New Canaan 40-20 and Staples 50-15. The 3 and 4 Warriors were led by Connor Drake, who was 9th overall with a time of 17:59 in the 5,000 meter race. But McCormick and this girls Warriors team, they look as crisp and clean of a running team as we have seen in quite some time now.
They're good, and the thing about cross country, of course, too, is with those girls, you just hope they stay healthy the whole way through, and they can keep the whole group together. It's a fast season. You've got some invitationals. You had the Wilton Invitational already. You'll have Wickham Park coming up. There's a Brooster Invitational coming up too. And those are the big meets. The dual meets are nice to win. You want to keep your record up there, but when it comes to the FCAC championships, those invitationals are what's going to pay off.
And the FCAC's quickly approaching and just sneaking up on us. And you're right, it's such a quick season, but the female Warriors doing everything they can and doing everything right at this point in time. Let's take one more break here on Nutmeg Sports, but when Dave and I get back, we'll take a look at tonight's matchup between St. Joe's and the Fairfield Ludlow girls soccer teams, which the HAN Network will be covering.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
At InSports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Recently renovated and home to one of Connecticut's largest indoor turf fields, InSports is a multi-sport recreation center providing state-of-the-art facilities for league play, camps, and youth programs. Players have access to soccer, lacrosse, football, baseball and softball, field hockey, rugby, basketball, volleyball, and social game facilities. In Sports has also launched an early childhood development program, a daycare and pre-K program all rolled into one. Don't miss out on the fun. Find out more at insportscenters.com or call 203-268-1214. Like and follow us on Facebook.
Washington Prime, now open on Main Street in Georgetown. Come enjoy our relaxed setting, excellent service, award-winning nightly happy hours, and feast on our creative new American cuisine. Connecticut Magazine's winner for Best Steak, Washington Prime of Georgetown.
The leaves are changing, water temps dropping, and the sun is setting a little earlier each day. But there's still a lot of great boating, fishing, and coast time left before we see the first snow. And above all, remember, it's always summer at the Dock Shop. With loads of new fishing tackle and accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor, the Dock Shop is just what you need when you start to feel that New England autumn chill. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
At the Ridgefield Suzuki School, we believe that every child can. Using the internationally recognized Suzuki method, children learn to play their instrument in an environment of encouragement, parental support, and community. The Suzuki approach seeks to develop the whole child to help unfold his or her natural potential to learn. Private lessons and group classes are offered on violin, viola, cello, and piano for children ages 4 and up, and young children can enroll in their school's early childhood classes before beginning an instrument. The Ridgefield Suzuki School, nurturing a love of music in all children. Call us at 203-403-2667 or visit ridgefieldsuzuki.com.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. More than 1.5 million viewers have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment broadcasting since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Frank Granito and Dave Stewart as we shift gears now and take a look at tonight's marquee matchup on the HAN Network between the St. Joseph Cadets and Fairfield Ludlow Falcons in girls soccer. Dave, we've got St. Joe's coming in 4-0-1. Ludlow struggling a little bit, 1-2-1. Is this a game that St. Joe's really should be expected to win?
I think you got to say that right now. St. Joe's is playing at a real high level, which is really something considering the people they lost to graduation and how even their coach is saying that they're not as dominant as they were last year. But they're playing really well right now. Had a great win over Trumbull on Monday, I believe 4-0. And Lindsay Savko, of course, is a big part of that, had a hat trick in that game. But yeah, St. Joe's is going to be the favorite in this one. And you know, if things hold true to form right now, they might be looking at 5-0-1-1.
And the Cadets just playing so well. They have allowed 1 goal all season. It was in the first game against Bridgeport Central. Since then, they have outscored their opponents 13-0. The only blemish on the record is a 0-0 tie against Wilton, in which the Warriors played very well. Ludlow had a pretty good season last year. They were 3rd place in the East. They lost in the first round of FCX in overtime to Greenwich, and they lost in the second round of states to the FCX champion Ridgefield. St. Joe's, though, 16-0 last year, lost in the championship to Ridgefield. They ended up winning states, but again, they lose a lot to graduation. I don't think anyone expected them to be this good, but they are a motivated bunch right now and are on a mission.
Well, they've struggled to find their footing, so to speak, in soccer. They're also in a tough stretch. They've had Ridgefield, defending FCX champion, one of the league favorites. Darien, who's playing very well right now, and then St. Joe's on top of that now. So they've had, this is a stretch of tough games, and not the type of teams you want to be playing if you're, trying to find yourself at this point. It's a positive sign that they did tie Darien on Monday at 0-0 and held them in check. So they might be looking to play for a point tonight. They get another tie against St. Joe's. You can ride that kind of momentum into the next few games.
The Falcons started off the year with a 6-0 win over Stanford. Tough loss to Brian McMahon by a score of 2-1. That was at McMahon, and it's a tough environment to play in. Then the 3-0 loss to Ridgefield, and I thought it was a very good draw, 0-0, against a strong Darien team who we figure to see in the Final Four at the least.
That's got to be that's got to be a big boost for Ludlow now to get a point out of that game when they're not necessarily playing at their best and coming off a 3-0 loss to Ridgefield. That Brian McMahon team you mentioned too. They're playing well this year. They're McMahon's kind of a hard program to figure. They don't always have great teams. They sometimes will jump up and bite you, but this year they seem to be fairly steady. They played New Canaan the other night. New Canaan's got a good team this year, a competitive team, and New Canaan won that game 2-1. That was at Dunning Field, and so McMahon hung in there with them, and that's not a bad McMahon team. So that 2-1 loss to them is not as bad as it might look in previous years.
No, and McMahon has only played 3 games so far this year. They will have West Hill tonight from Casa Grande Field at 7:15. At the end of this week, Dave, we're going to have New Canaan and Darien in our first field hockey game from Darien on Friday afternoon. What are your first thoughts on that one?
Well, New Canaan's coming off a tough loss. Norwalk is playing very well, but a 5-3 loss, giving up 5 goals like that is tough, especially when you're going to be going into Darien to play next, because Darien can score with the best of them, obviously. New Canaan's played well, though. They have some scoring power. Girls like Ellery Barron, Mariana Ferreira, people like that are playing very well. Sierra Smith in the middle, she's doing really well. They have a sophomore goalie, Emily Gaida, who is new to the starting position, but she's shown flashes of brilliance in there. So a lot might depend on how the defense and Gaida play, because if things start to snowball out of control against a team like Darien, they can really take advantage of that.
And Darien has just looked so strong all year long. They currently sit at 4-0, just a game behind Norwalk, who's 5-0. But then Saturday afternoon, we've got our big game for the weekend. It's the only football game we'll be covering this week. Greenwich and Johnny Marinelli against Darien and Rob Trifone. It was a bit of a beating last year from the Blue Wave. Greenwich gets the chance to go return the favor on Darien's homecoming. Do they have enough to do it, though?
That's a tough one. I understand the fans for Greenwich were chanting at the end of the game, "We want Darien." I'm not sure that that's necessarily the best thing to do, but Greenwich has had 2 games now, and they've been completely opposite. They just squeaked by a West Hill team, which gave it its all. That was 22-16. And then they come out and they play Trinity, which is a very good Trinity squad this year, especially considered they might be one of the best 0-2 teams around. And Greenwich just looked in sync. They played great, win that game 42-21. So they did get the positive momentum going forward here and getting into. They needed that win, to play the way they did to have a shot against Darien. That being said, Darien's won 14 in a row. They look, if they don't look as good as they did last year, they're very close right now. And that's going to be a hard call going into Darien to win a game against a team that's got so much momentum going. They just seem to do everything right.
And I thought what Greenwich did best against Trinity was their domination at the line of scrimmage. In fact, the Greenwich O-line is up for our Athlete of the Week nomination. If you want, you can go to HAN Network, vote for them or any of the other 8 nominees from this past week. But I think when they run into a more experienced and much bigger and deeper Darien line, they won't be as fortunate. But I will save my pick and comments for FCAC Tailgate, which will be this weekend at 11:45. That's going to do it for today's show. I want to thank you for coming on with me, and we'll see you soon.
It's been fun. We covered a lot of ground today. That was a lot of variety there. So,
a lot of fun as always. For Dave Stewart, I'm Frank Granito. Make sure you check out our game tonight from Fairfield Ludlow. Pre-game is at 5:15 when the Cadets take on the Falcons. And as always, coffee break tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. with Kate Czaplinski.